Steven Callahan's story is one of the most remarkable survival tales ever documented. His journey is a testament to human endurance, ingenuity, and the will to survive against all odds. In 1981, the seasoned sailor set out alone across the Atlantic in his small sailboat, the Napoleon Solo. Callahan, an experienced sailor and boat designer, had meticulously prepared for this voyage, ensuring that his vessel was equipped with all the necessary supplies and safety gear. He was confident in his abilities and eager to test his skills against the vast and unpredictable ocean. Just days into his voyage, disaster struck when his boat was severely damaged by a storm. The storm was fierce, with towering waves and howling winds that battered the Napoleon Solo relentlessly. Despite Callahan's best efforts to navigate through the tempest, the boat sustained critical damage, leaving him with no choice but to abandon ship, leaving him adrift in a life raft in the vast Atlantic Ocean. With limited supplies and no immediate hope of rescue, Callahan faced an uncertain future. He had to rely on his resourcefulness and survival skills to stay alive. Over the next 76 days, he battled hunger, thirst, and the relentless elements, all while maintaining hope and determination. His story is not just about survival, but about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity. Callahan's ingenuity was put to the test as he crafted makeshift tools and found ways to catch fish and collect rainwater. His journal entries, written during those harrowing days, reveal a man determined to survive, documenting his daily struggles and triumphs. At night, the vastness of the ocean and the starry sky above served as both a reminder of his isolation and a source of solace. The stars became his companions, guiding him and providing a sense of direction and hope. After 76 grueling days, Callahan was finally spotted by a passing ship and rescued. The moment of his rescue was a powerful testament to his unyielding spirit and the incredible strength of the human will to survive. Today, Steven Callahan shares his story with the world, inspiring countless others with his tale of survival and resilience. His journey across the Atlantic is a powerful reminder of the strength of the human spirit and the enduring will to overcome even the most insurmountable challenges. Steven's raft was barely 6 feet long, a fragile vessel in the vast, unforgiving ocean. The waves seemed to mock its tiny size, each crest a reminder of the overwhelming power of nature. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, a daunting expanse that seemed to swallow the tiny raft whole. Steven felt the weight of isolation, the realization that he was truly alone in this immense, indifferent sea. He had limited supplies, just a few tools, some emergency rations, and a solar still for desalinating water. These items were his lifeline, but they were woefully inadequate for the long ordeal ahead. The emergency rations were meager, barely enough to sustain him for a few days, let alone the weeks or months he might be adrift. Each item in his survival kit became a precious resource, a potential key to his continued existence. The solar still was a small miracle, turning seawater into drinkable water drop by drop. Yet it was a slow process, and Steven had to ration every precious drop. The still required constant attention, and Steven found himself anxiously watching the slow accumulation of water, knowing that his survival depended on it. The process was painstaking, and the yield was minimal, but it was his only source of fresh water. He faced an immediate battle for survival against hunger, dehydration, and the scorching sun. The sun was relentless, beating down on him with an intensity that sapped his strength and spirit. Each day was a test of endurance, a struggle to maintain hope in the face of despair. Steven's thoughts often drifted to his family, wondering if they were safe, if they were looking for him. The nights were no better, filled with the eerie sounds of the ocean and the constant fear of what might be lurking beneath the surface. Every moment was a fight to stay alive, to keep pushing forward despite the overwhelming odds. The initial struggle after the disaster was a true test of Steven's willpower and resilience. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into an agonizing blur of time. Steven's body grew weaker, but his determination remained unbroken. He clung to the hope that rescue would come, that he would see his loved ones again. The vastness of the ocean was both his enemy and his companion, a constant reminder of the thin line between life and death. The struggle was not just physical, but deeply emotional, as Steven grappled with the fear and uncertainty of his situation. His mind wandered to memories of happier times, drawing strength from the love and support of his family. even as he faced the harsh reality of his predicament. The initial struggle after the disaster was a crucible that tested every aspect of Steven's being, forging a resilience that would carry him through the darkest moments of his ordeal. Using his ingenuity, Steven managed to catch fish and collect rainwater. He patched his leaking raft multiple times with duct tape and improvised tools, showing incredible resourcefulness. His innovative survival techniques were crucial in keeping him alive. The ordeal wasn't without terrifying moments. Sharks circled his raft on multiple occasions. He narrowly avoided attacks by staying calm and using his spear gun for defense. These encounters tested his resolve and survival instincts. Gap 2S. Steven's run-ins with sharks were super scary, but just as tough was finding food every day. He didn't have much, so he had to get creative to stay alive. Gap 2S. Steven's spear gun wasn't just for scaring away sharks, it was for catching dinner too. Every fish he caught was a win, keeping him alive just a little bit longer. He made his food last, sometimes eating raw fish and seaweed. He couldn't drink the ocean water, so he built a simple gadget using the sun to make fresh water. Every drop was super important, like liquid gold. Gap 2S. Fishing became his routine, a way to feel a bit normal in a crazy situation. He'd spend hours looking at the water, waiting for the perfect moment to catch a fish. It took patience and skill, and every fish he got made him feel like a champion, even if just for a little while. Gap 2S. But the ocean can change quickly. Sometimes storms would wash away all the food he'd worked so hard to get, and he'd have to start all over. Some days he caught nothing, and the hunger was really hard. But he never gave up. He knew if he wanted to live, he had to be smart and never quit. Gap 2S. Steven also used the few things he had in clever ways. He used a small mirror to try and get someone's attention, though nobody saw him for weeks. He made fishing lines out of small pieces of rope and used his smarts to fix his raft when the wind and waves messed it up. Gap 2S. Trying to survive every day was really tiring for his body and his mind. It was like a never-ending fight against the weather, hunger, and feeling hopeless. But Steven's desire to live kept him going, even when things looked impossible. Gap 2S. Steven's cleverness and toughness showed just how strong people can be, even in the worst situations. Every day was a fight to stay alive, and every small win was one step closer to being rescued. Over 76 days, Steven lost 1/3 of his body weight and battled intense loneliness. Each day was a struggle to find the strength to continue. The sun was relentless, beating down on him, and the nights were cold and unforgiving. He had to ration his limited supplies of food and water, often going days without a proper meal. The physical toll was immense, but the mental strain was even more challenging. Steven found himself talking to the sea, the sky, and even the raft just to hear a voice, even if it was his own. He fought to keep his willpower strong, knowing that giving up was not an option. The isolation was profound, and the days seemed to stretch endlessly. He would often stare at the horizon, hoping to see a ship or a plane, but the vast ocean remained empty. To keep his mind occupied, Steven meticulously tracked his drift using a makeshift navigation chart he had crafted from scraps. This small act of navigation gave him a sense of purpose and control in an otherwise uncontrollable situation. He watched the stars at night, using them to guide his path, and during the day, he observed the currents and the wind. He would write in a journal, documenting his thoughts and observations, which helped him maintain a semblance of normalcy. The act of writing became a therapeutic exercise, allowing him to process his emotions and fears. After drifting 1,800 miles, Steven was finally spotted by fishermen off the coast of the Caribbean. The sight of the fishermen was surreal. He had almost given up hope of ever being found. The rescue was emotional, with Steven breaking down in tears as he was pulled from the raft. He emerged from his ordeal alive, though deeply scarred physically and emotionally. The experience had changed him forever, leaving him with a profound appreciation for life and the strength of the human spirit. The journey had tested his limits, but it also revealed an inner resilience he never knew he had. Steven's story is a testament to the power of hope and the human will to survive against all odds. Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're talking about an amazing guy named Steven Callahan and his incredible story of survival. You won't believe what he went through. So, Steven was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean when his boat sank. He was lost at sea all alone for 76 days. Can you imagine? But his story doesn't end there. He was rescued, and what he learned out there in the ocean changed his life, and it's inspired so many people around the world. Steven talks a lot about how important hope is. Never giving up, even when things are really, really tough. He learned about resilience, bouncing back from hard times, and he learned how amazing humans are. We can adapt to almost anything. After he was rescued, Steven wrote a book about everything that happened. He shared tips on how to survive at sea, which has helped tons of sailors and adventurers. He's even been in documentaries and interviews, inspiring people who are facing their own challenges. Steven didn't stop there. He wanted to make sure other sailors were safe. He started working to make survival equipment better and to improve training. He knows how important it is to be prepared for anything. Steven Callahan's story shows us how strong humans can be. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, we can keep going. His story isn't just about surviving, it's about hope, bravery, and never giving up on life. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more awesome stories.